So guys, today I've got the Stealth Vision scope. Seems like a decent scope, but the company makes some pretty bold claims about this scope's ability to increase accuracy and even transform your rifle into a sniper rifle. Let's get into the review and see how it turns out. Okay guys, first thing we're going to do is mount this scope in these rings, but it's very important, it's vitally important to make sure that everything is level. The way that I do that is I have a perfectly level surface here. This workbench is level, it's sitting on a concrete pad that's level, and I have this device from Badger Ordnance called the Dead Level. It's got these knobs up here in front and one here on the back side, and it's got a level right here. And all we got to do is turn those knobs. We're going to take our scope, and it just so happens that this scope has a level inside of it. Right there, looks like it's perfectly in the center. So one of the features of the scope is that internal bubble level is actually lighted green. And if you're off to one side or the other, the light turns off. When it lights up green, you know you're perfectly level and you can take your shot. Here we go, properly mounted scope. Next I'm going to tell you guys about the rifle, and we're going to get out and shoot it.
Hey, Range John. Oh, hey, Studio John. Have you ever heard of the MagShack? I think I heard about them in a TGC video one time. You should probably know about the MagShack. Oh, yeah. Why? Well, the MagShack does what the MagShack does, and you might need to know about the MagShack. Oh, you're being weird because of YouTube nonsense, aren't you? Yep. All right, I will look into the MagShack for sure.
So guys, the rifle is actually a Tikka T3X, but the only thing left from the original rifle is the action itself and the trigger. The trigger actually has been polished and it's amazing, and it's set at about 2 pounds, which is light enough for me, and it's really good. So the barrel has been swapped out from the factory to a proof pre-fit, and this is 24 inches long. It is a 6.5 Creedmoor 1 1/8 twist. Of course, it's the carbon fiber, which is awesome. Gives a little bit of lighter weight. We've got the EC tuner brake up on the front. We're not going to be using the tuner feature, but I really love this brake. It works exceptionally well. Got Picatinny section of rail mounted underneath this chassis here so that we can run the Atlas bipod. And the rifle has been placed into a KRG Bravo stock/chassis. It's kind of a crossover. It's got an internal metal frame here, like a mini chassis. It completely free floats it, gives it some rigidity, gives me the ergonomics back here that I need for a great grip, cheek height, length of pull, all that kind of stuff. Let's get out to the range, put some rounds down through this thing. Well guys, the wind ended up wreaking havoc on my microphone out at the range the other day. It was like 15 to 18 mile an hour gusts, pretty constant. So you're hearing voiceover now. Right now what I'm doing is I've laid down to get 100 yard zero on the rifle. And once that is complete, then I have transitioned into doing a box test. And if you're not familiar with what a box test is, it's basically you have to pre-measure a box and place targets at 4 corners. And from each corner to each corner, each target, it has to measure 3.6 inches. So if I can re-explain that, if I have a 1 MOA gun, I'm going to give myself 1 MOA of error at each of those corners. And I'm going to assume that the tracking is true on the scope. So you basically you place a shot, let's say bottom left, and then here I went top right, so I adjusted up 3.6 inches and right 3.6 inches, and I took a shot, and then I went back the other direction so that I hit all 4 of those targets by just adjusting the scope and holding the exact same aiming point. And it passed the box test just fine. Again, wind, noise, problems. So what you're seeing here is me setting up the tall target tracking test. So this tracks the elevation adjustment of a scope. I brought a big level, and I'm making sure that the target is perfectly level with the fall of gravity, so that then when I go back and I take my shots through my scope, and my scope is perfectly level, and then I shoot a group down at the bottom, and then I adjust my optic up
as many mils as I have room to adjust it up. In this sense, I think I was out at about 1,100 yards worth of elevation adjustment, and then I took another shot, and it should impact on that line or dang close to it up at the top.
So we've got our initial shot down here. This was going to be my 0, and I was aiming right at the end of this line right down here. That was my 0. So this is within a 1/4 inch of my 0 down here. Okay, meaning the gun and me are able to hit exactly what we're aiming at. That being said, this was our group for that gun. Now this is sub MOA, but we have to allow for the fact that the shot could be off within that distance, okay, where we're shooting. So I shot this one down here, and then we dialed 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes of angle, which is, I'll tell you on the screen what that's equivalent to. And we ended up 1 inch to the right and about a 1/2 inch high. But that is within that 1 inch margin of error. So I'm gonna say that this scope tracks true enough to be usable at long range.
Of course, I had to stretch its legs a little bit, and so what I'm doing here is I'm using that green level to make sure my shots are perfectly level, and I'm taking some shots on a 6-inch plate here out at just under 400 yards, and I wanted to show you guys that just so you know that I actually did test this at slightly longer range. It's a super windy day, like 16 mile per hour gusts, so I kept it in a little closer than I would normally have done. Hopefully that's okay.
That brightness that you'd be looking for, especially in a hunting optic, towards the dawn or dusk when it's kind of dim outside. As far as the scope itself, the fit, the finish, the durability, all seems on par with some of the others. If you go look up Husqvarna Optics, which was a popular scope company in the hunting world some years ago, this scope to me looks almost identical to a Husqvarna scope. I'm only saying that because of the price of this optic, okay? Price is another consideration. The price of this optic is up around $3,500. To me, this optic shouldn't cost a penny over $2,000. The only real feature that I see that it has that many other scopes don't have is an internal bubble level, which I showed you. It's green, it lights up. You can change the brightness setting. It tells you, it's your anti-cant device. It tells you whether you're level or not for your shot. As far as I can tell, it doesn't do anything else that another scope can't do. And as far as the internal bubble level, it's kind of cool that it's internal. I'll give it that. I like that it lights up green. Like, this guy's an eye doctor. He knows that the human eye sees green a little better than others, and that's great. I have no problem with that. So I kind of like that it's a green internal bubble level. It's not the first scope to do that, right? We've got a number of other scopes on the market that have internal level systems. It's nothing new, but it is unique. But that doesn't make it worth the money, right? You're going to pay that extra money typically for the scope internals, the durability of the optic, the clarity and resolution of high-end glass to bring a $3,000, $3,500 or more price tag, like a Zero Compromise or a Tangent Theta or something like that. The scope isn't there, in my opinion. But it is a decent scope. It performed well. The tracking tests, as you saw, tall target tracking test was only slightly off, out past 1,000 yards. I think the vertical tracking out to distance was good. I did a box test, and that passed as far as I'm concerned. So the reason that I can't recommend this scope is because of the claims of the owner. And it's just one of those kind of cringe moments where you got a good product, sir, but you can't put stuff on the box like turn your rifle into a sniper rifle and not have people mock you a little bit for that. The scope might be decent, but I won't buy your product because putting a scope on a rifle doesn't turn your rifle into a sniper rifle unless it's being operated by a legit sniper. It doesn't increase your accuracy either. Like, Some of the claims that I've heard have been, oh, use this scope, it increases your accuracy. Well, why does it increase your accuracy? Well, because it's got an internal bubble level that lights up. Well, your internal bubble level doesn't do anything that a $25 external bubble level won't do. So why do people need to spend an extra $1,500 for an internal bubble level? It's cool, but it's not cool enough. This industry doesn't really have room for grandiose or potentially false claims. So I wouldn't buy this optic for that reason alone. The scope functions fine. It's a decent optic from what I can tell, but I can't do it. Hit that subscribe button, guys. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Let's have a discussion, and make sure to continue checking out the Gun Collective for more great videos. Thanks.